Hi, this is Getting Started with Gong-Fu Tea Preparation. I'm Mike McElfresh of Red Thistle Ranch. Tea has long been one of my favorite drinks, but it wasn't until I had tea prepared by the Gong-Fu method in Shanghai many years ago that I came to truly understand how great tea could taste. I observed this technique several occasions in China and in the United States by experts, and what I will be showing you today is my adaptation of this method, which I use to make my tea on a daily basis. I'm preparing my favorite tea, tea Kuan Yin. It's considered a green oolong, using this adaptation of the Gong-Fu method. I just want to note that all Chinese tea comes from the same species of plant, the Camellia sinensis, and that goes for whether it's white, green oolong, black oolong, red, or what we call black in the West. And they're all derived from the same plant, but using differences in methods and timing of picking, fermenting, shaping, and roasting. And these are sophisticated methods requiring a great deal of expertise. We'll be discussing these in the next video. So what are the basic elements of the method? We will be using a relatively large amount of tea compared to a tea bag, but we will be brewing several batches from those same set of leaves that we put into our brewing container. The tea leaves will be placed in a brewing container, this Yijing pot, or the gaiwan I mentioned earlier, and the hot water added in the brewing pot for the brewing process. The amount of time the water is in contact with the tea leaves is controlled in order to affect the extraction of flavors. And the brewing of the tea is then stopped by decanting from the brewing pot into the pitcher, and then we serve from the pitcher. And we'll find that from brewing to brewing that the flavors change. And the amount of time, the amount of tea, the temperature, and other factors will actually affect the different flavors that we will extract from the tea. So, the tea we're going to use today, I mentioned, is this tea Kuan Yin. This is my favorite type of tea. It's in the class of a green oolong. I buy it from Royalty Bay, who have shops on eBay and Amazon. And they are my primary source of tea today. Cindy at Royalty Bay helps me select tea with the attributes I'm looking for. Dealing with Cindy reminds me of going to a shop when I was much younger, family-run businesses with expert owners who knew the products they were selling really well and could advise you on the differences and coordinate with what you liked and wanted in the way of a product. Today we have the internet, and Cindy and I can communicate across the world, and I get the kind of tea I'm looking for. So the tools we'll be using are shown here. I have them right here. We'll be using this Yijing pot. This pot is made of what they call purple clay or xisha clay. It's particularly useful for oolong teas. It's the most popularly used for oolong teas. The glass or porcelain gaiwan can actually be used for the whole spectrum of teas, from all the way from white all the way across to black teas, and including all the oolongs. We have an electric pot here as the source of hot water. This is a temperature controlled pot. You can see here I have the ability to control the temperature. We'll be using 90 degrees C water. That's the temperature that's recommended for this tea. And when you buy tea from Royalty Bay, they'll actually specify the kind of the time range you'd want to have your water in contact with it, and the temperature. I have a measuring spoon. We're going to measure out the tea into the pot, and the decanting pitcher. I have a timer here, my iPhone, and some cups. Okay, the first step is washing the tea. So we'll start by warming up the various utensils here. We're going to take this hot water from our pot, and we're going to pour some water into the pitcher to start warming that up. We will pour some hot water into our brewing pot. There we go. And we'll pour a little water into each of the teacups. Start warming things up. Let that warm up a little bit, swirl it around a bit, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pour out the hot water. Pot's nice and warm. And next we will be measuring out our tea. I'm going to be using 2 heaping teaspoons of our tea Kuan Yin. Be sure you don't get your spoon or your tea wet. That will degrade your tea. Getting the spoon wet and then getting into the can can degrade your tea. The next step, we're going to be adding hot water to the tea leaves. Small amount. Swirl that around a bit. This is washing the tea. We'll now decant this fairly quickly. We're not brewing at this point, we're only washing the tea. Okay, and that's washing the tea, and we will want to use this pot and tea immediately to start our first brewing. Okay, the tea has been washed, and now we're ready to brew. We will take our pot and we're going to fill this about 3/4 of the way full this time. I don't really want to go to the top of this particular pot. You don't really want to go too far beyond the spout. And we will then put the water on there, start our timer. I have it set for 1 minute. The amount of time is something that you're going to want to experiment with. Again, when you buy the tea, often it'll have a time for contact, and that's a great place to start. And then what you want to do is, if you think you want to try something different, you might shorten the time a little bit, 15 seconds, say, or lengthen it 15 seconds. That'll make a difference. But longer is not necessarily better, and we're going to find that time will affect sequential brewings. Are going to be affected by the amount of time that we use for these brewings. So we're going to pour out the pitch water in the pitcher. That was just there to warm it up. The alarm has now gone off, and we are going to decant our tea into the pitcher. You can see the first brewing is a light gold color. They tend to get darker as on later brewings. We also find that if we look in the pot, we find that the tea leaves open gradually from brewing to brewing. Okay, so this is our nice golden brew. We'll pour out the water from these teacups and add some tea. You can smell a really nice floral bouquet coming off of this tea. That's one of the things I especially like about green oolong, especially tea Kuan Yin. It's a beautiful floral fragrance. This one has a bit of another bouquet to it, a little bit of a cinnamon kind of smell, a spicy smell. Let's go ahead and taste it. Yes, very, very nice. It's got this, you can sort of seem like we can taste the bouquet, the floral bouquet, and we also have that light cinnamon flavor in the background. This tea, it's got a really nice mouthfeel. Some tea Kuan Yins are kind of thin in the mouth. This particular one actually has a fair amount of body and thickness to it. Okay, the cameraman and I have finished off this pot of tea, and we're ready to make a second. If it's been sitting for a while, we might want to rewarm the pitcher rather, and the cups. This time we don't need to wash the tea again. That's only an initial thing we do. It's washing it the first time. This time we can just go ahead and add more hot water. Again, we'll fill this about 3/4 full with this particular pot. And go ahead and set our timer for 1 minute. And we're getting close to the end of our minute. I'm going to pour out water from the pitcher. Wait those last few seconds for the timer to go off. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and decant. You see it starts at 1 minute, but it takes time to actually decant. So it's not really, it's some of the initial part of the brew is being decanted at 1 minute, but then the rest of it's still brewing for a long period of time. But in this way, we actually get some control over the extraction of the various components from the tea. And it allows us to change that and reproduce it if we want to reproduce it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and you can see it's actually a darker golden color this time. Nice, beautiful, clear gold color. This time the bouquet is not quite as strong, but it's still there, that floral bouquet. And we smell this time. We smell more of that cinnamon smell coming out. It's actually stronger. The floral bouquet's kind of gone down considerably from the first time. The cinnamon is coming out. And that spicy flavor is actually much more prominent in the second brewing than it was in the first brewing. And that's one of the great things about this technique, is that the sequential brewings will bring out the different flavors and different characteristics of the tea. Okay, so that was getting started with the Gong-Fu method. This is Mike McKelfers for Red Thistle Ranch. I'll see you in the next video.